Recording in progress.
Y'all, if you can hear me, let's see if I can get my camera to start. Oh no! Let me unplug and replug. Bear with me. Wait for it. Wait for it. Ooh, there I am. Can you hear me? Oh, and I'm gone again. No. Hold on. Oh, I'm on my regular camera. That's why. My fancy camera told me not today. So it's always an adventure when I come on here, y'all. I'm so sorry. And Joshua, my leader, gives me such a hard time about how I start these. But my intentions are so pure. I come on, I'm like, oh, it's going to start this way. It's going to be great. And then my camera blows up. But anywho, hi, everybody. Hi, Kathy. How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, thank you, Andy. It's Andy. I remembered. Thank you, Andy. Listen, I have a complex. Hi, Kristen, where I cannot keep my hair the same for too long, and it drives me a little nutty. Now, I have not had short hair. Oh gosh, she had a rough day today. Full disclosure, for those of you who are new here, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Debbie. Um, but so I have not had short hair like this in 15 years, probably 14 years. But I had some breakage and we said, you know what? Bobs are in. Clearly, Jenna Bush Hager just chopped her hair off. Anyone saw that? Hi, Sal. Um, but anyways, so first, well, let me address the first thing. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. We were not in the office today for Juneteenth. So I was with my girls today all afternoon, which was lovely. But my hair is a little crazy and the makeup is not makeuping. But hi, Jeff. Welcome. I see a lot of new faces in here tonight, which is incredible to see. And I already see some returns in the chat. If this is your first time, thank you so much for joining me tonight. My name is Laura DeVeiga, and I am the Director of Agency Development at World Via Travel Network. I do these sessions let's not lie to everybody, right? I do these sessions every Thursday. I am in town. I haven't been here for about 2 weeks because I was booked and busy, as one might say. No, I was here. It was 2 weeks ago. I think it was. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. But I was at Travel Leaders Edge conference last week. And if you are familiar with Travel Leaders Network, if you are a part of Travel Leaders Network, I saw Sir Rocky there, who's in the chat. We finally got to meet in person. We had a blast. Sarah, it was so much fun. Yes. Hi, Sarah. Hi. Thanks, Robin. So it was Edge is a marathon and you are just trying to survive. And I know that because I've also run a marathon. And it was incredible. And which makes it even more of a marathon is that it was in Las Vegas this year. Also, for those of you that are new, this is Employee of the Month. This is Ellie. She shows up and leaves when she chooses. We can't make a choice on that, but that is now her couch. So anyhow, but I try to do this every Thursday. I am in town, but I was doing a bit of traveling. I am done with work travel for the hottest of seconds, but I will be honest with all of y'all. I'm here this week and next week, and then the 2 weeks after that, I am out for some personal travel. The time has come. It's very exciting. I'll talk about that later. That's not important. But for those of you that are, if you are first timers, a little bit about what this is. Isn't she a background picture? Listen, she could pretend to be. It's because it's the time of day. At 7 p.m., Robin, she is a 30-year-old woman in dog years. And if she is anything like me, it is time for bed at 7:30. And I'm not a woman in my 30s. I am nearing a woman in my 40s. Actually, I am a woman. Well, not yet. I'm bordering by the skin of my teeth 40. But so she's just a tired little babe and she loves to be out in the sun all day. But by the time it comes to come into the air conditioning, she's checked out. But you'll catch some movement in about 20 minutes because that's when the girls are coming home from play practice and you'll see her rustle around. Sorry for those of you that are new here going through my whole life story, but why I do this, a little bit about my backstory for my first timers. I've been in the industry, this is year 14 for me. I started as a travel advisor like many of you, worked in a storefront agency, then went on to work in the wholesaler side for GoGo Vacations on their sales team, on their business development team as a national account manager, and then now work as a director where I oversee the recruitment side, our expansion team, as well as our member success team. So anything agency operations. In all my years in this industry, what has been consistent from day one is when I'm speaking to other individuals about what we are lacking in this industry, it is personal and professional development. And something I truly love and absorb regularly is personal and professional development. So I do this Thursdays for free to give it out to y'all. We skim the surface here, but I'm always willing to do more in detail if anyone ever wanted to on a one-on-one basis. And Rocky, I know I owe you a meeting link, my friend. It is not lost on me. I did go to Georgia for 3 days right from Vegas and had to do some training, but it is coming. As some of you are already reacting with your reactions, thank you. Please feel free to hop in the chat as we go through this. This is personal and professional development. So we develop by speaking with each other, getting involved with each other. Oh, this is your first time tuning in, Alexis. I've been listening on YouTube. Well, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm just happy to be back. Listen, I'm saying listen a lot tonight, guys. I don't mean to be yelling at everyone. We haven't been with each other a minute. I'm like, listen. No, I listen, okay, I said it anyways, it doesn't matter. We're adults, right? And sometimes 7 o'clock and I've got little ones and the dogs and I've got 2 Maine Coons and this house is chaos. And I'm like, ooh, I got to buckle in for 7. But something about when 7 o'clock hits, I just flip a switch and, oh, thank you. And Robin said fun nails. And I get into this mode and then I remember why I love this so much. So tonight, now why do I keep saying listen? I'm usually not this demanding. Everyone else here can attest to that. Tonight we are getting into, it's not a tough topic, right? It's something we've touched on in weeks past. So Alexis, like you said, you've been watching some old episodes. You can go back. All the episodes are on World Via's YouTube channel. Know that you do not have to be a part of World Via Travel Network to come here. Invite your friends if you know somebody that is in the travel industry that could use this and they are not part of World Via Travel Network. You are welcome and embraced. We want you here. I have lots of travel friends from all my travel years. But if you want to go back on the World Via Travel Network YouTube page, they're all on there. Or I'm going to really quickly pop in the Facebook group. Oh, let me escape out of the presentation here quick. In there, we keep all past episodes, updates about what's coming next, some fun, exciting things that are coming, which are coming, guys. I know I teased it as like I hope this happens and it's hold myself accountable kind of way, but the podcast is coming. So if those of you struggle to get on here on Thursday nights and don't want to watch the YouTube video, now there will be a video version of the podcast that will exist if you still want to absorb it in that manner. But there will be a non-live, much more directed, because if it's your first time, we go left and right a bit here and there. We have some fun. Not that the podcast won't be fun, but it'll definitely be much more on a direction. That is coming. What do you mean to request a quote request form? Do you mean as far as like doing some one-on-one time with me, darling? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Let me know. There is the Facebook group. Add yourself to that. It'll ask for approval. That approval comes through me. I will approve you because I see your names in here. But that's where you can see past episodes, watch, catch yourself up, because a lot of them intermingle. And that's what I was about to get to. So tonight, some of these topics we've talked about already, right? And it's kind of all coming together though on making sure you're building a foundation for a thriving agency. That's what I call this. It's strong client relationships. We talked about how to deal with difficult clients. We talked about how to retain and bring back clients. We talked about things, but this is really like making sure your relationship is solid. And why I thought this was important, and one, sometimes I'm tired and sometimes I like ones like this that are a little bit not as heavy as some of the business management things we get into on other weeks. What I like about this is at its core, this industry is a relationship driven industry. hard stop. We talked, the last session, we talked about supplier relationships and how passionate I feel about that and building your supplier relationships and why they are so incredibly important. We just had a huge situation in our host agency over the weekend where if we didn't have solid supplier relationships, it could have gone terribly for these clients and this advisor. But so on the level of supplier relationships, on the level of your own internal relationships, and I always say find your people, right? If you've been on here before, you've heard me say 100 times, find your people, find your people, find your people. But also we are not, thankfully, selling vacuums, right? You are building relationships with your clients so that they want to come back to you. And why this is so incredibly relevant currently, and I thought it would be good for this week, because at Edge last week in Vegas, a topic that came up in supplier meetings, in like the pre-meetings, because I got there earlier for the Independent Advisor Network conference and then went into Edge. And what came up was, and I'll just say it, cruise lines are going heavier. I won't name the cruise lines in particular, but are going heavier back into oh my goodness, advertising direct to consumer more than they have in the years past. Now, when I started in this industry, this was a huge problem, huge problem, right? And it had, not that it hadn't been, but oh yeah, right. And not that it hadn't been in the last few years, it still existed, but I do think many supplier partners backed off during the pandemic because they went, okay, I know I'm touching my hair a lot, guys. I don't know why. But it's they kind of backed off a little. They saw our value, especially when we'll Kim said she'll tell when we came in and really helped Kim, let me finish my sentence and we'll get into that. But we really helped keep the industry afloat during that time period. We helped clients feel safe and comfortable. Kim just said Princess stole 2 cabins from her. Sal said I had an issue lately with suppliers trying to convince clients to book direct on board. So, right. So, and when we started to talk through this now, I want to be very clear here. There isn't a reactive way to fix this. Which what I mean by that is they are technically allowed to do whatever they want. They ask our opinion on things. We strongly advise them against it. We tell them how big of a problem this is. But behind closed doors, they are a large company and they can do whatever they want. It sucks. They shouldn't. They should know that we're selling it for them and that we're going to pick the ones that don't do it, or we're going to pick the ones that let us convert. If those of you don't know, if you're new to the industry, a lot of supplier partners, if say their client books on board, because let's be real, they're trying to make money, so they're going to say on board, oh, book your next cruise, right? But many of them will allow you, and they'll even say right in the conversation, and don't worry, this can switch to your travel advisor partner once you get home. Many don't. Many don't even acknowledge they booked it with one in the first place. Some then have an active campaign to market directly to your consumers once they've arrived home. That's all separate. We know this is an issue, but it's become a resurgence again, which is unfortunate. But what we can do is be proactive, right? I said there's nothing reactive we can do. We can't go, okay, we're going to do this and fix it. We can't. Their organizations, their businesses, they could do what they want. We can express our opinions. We cannot be that way. But we can be proactive in ourselves. And the difference that is always so important to make sure your clients come back to you is making sure that they see the value in you and the relationship you've built with them. That's what we're getting into tonight. Okay. Jen, I'm not surprised. Princess sales are extremely difficult to get on the one source or through Travelport Cruises. The rep told me their sales rates are available to us, but their CS said no. But yes, we can transfer the booking over to earn commission. Listen, I want to be, like I said, this is not new. This is not, and I am not gonna, this isn't a throwing Princess under the bus moment. There are many other suppliers that are just as big a culprits. Some are pretty unapologetic about it. It sucks, but making sure that your relationships are strong with your clients are going to help avoid this for you in the future. Showing the value to your client, show why they should be booking with you is why this is going to keep this going. So through a strong relationship, you're going to keep this strong. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to do the fun weathercaster screen because everyone seems to get a kick out of that. And I am here to make everybody giggle. Oh, I don't know if it's going to work right tonight. It's all like digitized. Oh, that's sad. Here, I'll show you guys and then I'll cut it back quick. But this is not cute. She's not cute right now. All right. We got to fix her. All right, I'm going to stop for a second and then go back. I did crazy things to the, to my camera. Weird horror movie. I know I had to show everyone so we know why I'm not doing. Oh, Elvira. So for those of you, I'm fixing my share. I'm a big Halloween girly, and for me, that's soon. Halloween is now, in my opinion, 8 weeks away. I started in August. And with that said, that I start Halloween in August, I always try to one up my costume every year. And a few years ago, I almost did Elvira of the Ring. I almost did Elvira, and the only reason I didn't at last second was because we came up with a different theme for our costumes, so it didn't happen. So she will come out at some point. I don't know if she's at this year costume, but she will happen. We are big, 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 big Halloween people in our family. Okay. Let's get into it. I already told you the title. We talked through this. Just to remember, welcome. Again, this is about building strong client relationships. We're gonna get into kind of strategies tailored for experienced advisors like yourselves or inexperienced. It doesn't matter. They work no matter what. But the big thing is feel free to ask questions in the chat. Add your Zoom reactions. Give me your sarcastic remarks. It's what makes all this fun. Okay. Ooh, come on, slide. There we go. Okay. So the value of client relationships in a competitive market. So let's talk through it. Also, what do we think Santa race is? I'm always very honest. For those of you that's your first time here, I use AI photos a lot. It's easier, it's fun. And sometimes I put some crazy things in there. Okay, so 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. The 80-20 rule works for just about everything. No, I shouldn't say that. Just about everything in like a sales focus. I'll say something right now. 80% of our advisors in our network, sorry, 20% of our advisors in our network give us about 80% of our business. And that's a industry standard that is no matter if you are a storefront agency, a host agency, it doesn't matter. But 20% of your clients are what are going to give you all your finances, all your revenue. So what that means to me is you have to focus on retention to keep your profitability going. That means, yes, as much as you need to be bringing on new people and people that are going to be traveling often, but if you get somebody that you know is a good client and they're traveling to good places and they're doing the good trips and they're easy to work with, they're booking your high commission trips, things like that, you need to work on retaining those clients. Also, 2 times higher value. Long-term clients are more likely to invest in premium packages. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but the more trust you build in a client. So first trip, depending on the client, they might be, well, oh, she moved, guys. See, she does move. The first trip they might book with you, they might come in timid, they might come in with a budget, they might come in with preconceived ideas of what they want or need because they haven't worked with you before. They haven't had the opportunity for you to recommend things to them and say, oh, you should do this. You're going to enjoy yourself more if you do that. You want to add these excursions because you're going to do it when you're there, things like that. But they might come in a certain demeanor. But when they come back for their second trip, they know you. They trust you. So if you say, you can't stay in this room at this property, you have to be doing the suite here because it's going to give you this, that, and the other amenity. They're going to believe you and they're just going to book it. Now, there's always the possibility that they have to work around budget. You might have to work within those means, but more often than not, the trust, they're going to go, okay, we'll figure that out then. Let's go with that. If you recommend that, we're going to go with it. And that trust isn't built easily. You have to do what you did the first time correct. You have to show you listen to them the first time. So that's what we were talking about these past weeks, right? Like that first initial thing, like doing it right the first time is important because first impression means a whole heck of a lot. And if you messed up somebody's vacation, they are not going to forget it. They just aren't. So active listening, you listen to their needs, you did all the things. Now they know, okay, I can trust her. I can trust him. If he says, I need this upgrade, if he says we need to do this itinerary instead of the other ones, I'm going to believe them. So now we're talking second trip, even third trip, future trips. Now the trust it's going to get to a point where, and I know because I ran into this with my clients, where they would say, I want to go to a destination. I would come back with the itinerary and they just go, okay, book it. They wouldn't even question why I put something in, why I got them like a great example of this. And a simple example of this doesn't even have to be overthinking this by any means. I, without a shadow of a doubt, sell private transfers to anybody in Jamaica. I don't even ask. Now, I haven't sold travel in a few years, but I don't even ask because I don't want to be on one of those large buses trucking around the coast to Ocho Rios or to Negril and dropping 700 other people off after I just was on a 4-hour plane ride. I don't want to, you don't want to, I don't ask. I build the trip with private transfers always. Are private transfers in Jamaica significantly more expensive than shared transfers? 100%. It's worth it. I also don't book a trip to Jamaica without Club Mobay included in the package. Is it in need? I believe so. Will they want it once they see it? 100%. If any of you have been to Jamaica, and even not even busy season, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when every flight gets off in Jamaica, you want to pull your hair out when you have to wait through security. I'll give you 1 second, Robin, I'll tell you. Thank you, Michelle. Club Mobay walks them through security quicker. It takes them to a private lounge so their transfer can take them. And then on the way home, you get free drinks and food in the club lounge on the way home. It's there on the way there, but you're in and out so quick, it's hard to even notice. The biggest piece in the way in is security. On the way home is where it's clutch because, and then I know right now they were doing some renovations, but usually they have a masseuse in there. They've got showers in there. It's a delight on the way home. I just want to ask Michelle, we are starting a thing where we are reaching out with some of our top clients who've booked more than 2 trips with us to offer 3 to 5. Ooh, so I'd love you to describe what wow. I would love, we can have a separate conversation about this, Michelle, because I would love to go into this further. I know this is a lot of, what people are doing, and they're doing it in different manners. This like 5-year trip planning. I love this idea. I can't wait to see how this works out for you guys. This is a very cool idea, and that holds retention really, really well. And it is Club Mobay, what I mentioned, Robin. And thank you, Michelle, for listing it. Kathy, I know you know it was great. You just used it. You'll keep it in mind. How is it booked? You can usually book it through any tour provider that sells all inclusives. I think also Viator sells it just independently. Anyone that offers an excursion type kind of sale will sell Club Mobay, and 10 out of 10 recommend it every time. I think the way home is even cheaper than the way in. Like one is like 125, one is like 75. That was a couple years ago prices. Oh, Advisors, it's 50% off. Good point. They need one in every place, not just the Philippines, Robin. But if you're not booking it for people, there was a period of time pre-COVID where they were humoring and putting it in a lot more places, but then COVID happened and we'll see. But anyways, all that to say is Jamaica is an example. This is a one-off example, but it is a great example of there's never a time I don't book private transfers, and there's never a time I don't book Club Mobay. I don't even give the option because if they booked it on their own, they wouldn't know that. They would see other people doing it. They'd be like, God, I wish I could do that. But when it's like the experience. Does Does anyone watch the show Blackish? I don't know. I loved that show. It was a great comedy. But there was a moment where the family gets the skip the line passes. They're with the experience. What is it? The Disney guides. I forget the name of it. And they're like, "Bye all. We're on that. Like we're in the skip the line like because they were skipping every lines. And at first they were all timid, and by the time they got to the end of the day, they're like waving at people going through the line. And it's like one of the funniest scenes. Yes, you've seen it. Thank you. Where they're all like, "Oh, we can't wait in lines. Bye, see you later." Like that's what it becomes with Club Mobay in a sense. But that said, there are dollar amounts attached. A private transfer round trip in Jamaica. Now I'm going back a few years, but was roughly like 200 and some dollars for two people. It's not cheap. I'm not pretending like it is. What I'm telling you is when they have to sit in that hot, sweaty bus for 2 hours, or they can go on a private tour where they're going to point out different landmarks and things to see, or maybe they'll stop at oh my goodness, what's the name of the jerk shack that I love so much? Shakey's. Like there's different places they could go. Like it just makes sense. So anyways, I went on a tangent about Jamaica right now, but that's what I mean is so I never booked a trip without those pieces to Jamaica. Similar to people, I'm sure when people book Disney, when Disney has a dining plan and it is available, I would try not to book a family without it. Because I'm sorry, you can't beat the price of the dining plan if you eat like a normal human. If you want to be in and you want to skip around and you don't like to sit down and eat, then yeah, sure, I can play that game with you. But the dining plan is worth it. Things like that. But it's knowing those things and being able to guide your clients in the right direction. And then above, on top of that, it's things like travel insurance that they don't think they might need, but they can't even think for the life of them what will happen. But you have the horror stories to tell them. Stuff like that. I didn't mean to go on this long of a tangent on slide two, but I think this is all very important and the fact that they trust you after day one. So, and I'm not telling you to add things in to manipulate your clients. No, you're doing this you are the expert. You are the person they're going to. They have a choice. Let's be honest. The internet is real. It is out there. It's not going away. But the difference is the internet can't call the airlines if things go wrong. The internet can't recommend a different room category to them because you know it's in a better location for them at sandals. My goodness, if any of you have sold sandals, you know what a nightmare is. I use this example a lot. The internet doesn't know to recommend to their clients what different districts to stay in when they're in Paris to make sure they're in one that they're going to enjoy better and be more accessible to them. Things like that. Start with those valuable extras and you can exactly. And we talked about that a few weeks ago, right? So we talked about how you present your prices differently to different clients. And that's not what we're getting into tonight, but it is important and it's relevant to this. Once they trust you, put it all in there and explain to them why you did it. Once they're a repeat customer, odds are they're not going to remove it unless they're really on a budget and they're like, I can't do that this time. And you go, I get it. Maybe we can add it later. Like, so you don't want to scare them off or intimidate them by any means, but make sure you're showing your value. And then I just added in this quote. So in today's saturated travel market, shift from service provider to trusted advisor. Do not be an order taker. When we are competing with cruise lines going direct to your customer, and I'm going to say something, an ounce of controversial here. But Erica, my good friend who also works at World Via Travel Network, if you're not with our network, she's our director of our member development. She does all our education events. Her and I, years ago, had a discussion about all of the hotels that with points and what this looks like and what that's going to look like for the market. But what I will tell you is if you are an order taker, they're going to just book through who gives them points. If you're an order taker, they're going to book where it's convenient because it takes an extra ounce to let you know they booked or an extra ounce effort to let them know they booked and that they want you to handle it. So if you didn't give them top tier service, if you weren't kind, if you didn't try to go the extra mile for them, if you didn't explain things in detail to them that you think, now let's be clear. Human error happens. None of us are perfect. I'm not telling you have to be perfect, but we have to try our darndest to be good, better than good. And that is because we are providing a service. And selecting a travel advisor is an elevated service. Okay. Now, why should somebody do it? We know the reasons behind that. We know because listen, I have somebody do my taxes. I want someone to book my trips for me. I want someone with experience and knowledge and care to take that time out of my day and do it for me. But I can tell you right now, I know advisors, and we run into it all the time, especially because when we get worn and scorn and issues, that sometimes we become order takers. And those order takers are what we hear back from clients. Well, oh, she didn't really care about this. Oh, she didn't really listen. I wanted this, and they booked me in something else. It's not a big deal. But then when that person on board listens to them completely and does exactly what they need, you've lost that sale. And you've lost that sale to someone you shouldn't have. You lost that sale to someone that probably would have switched the sale to you. So keep that in mind. Okay. Ooh, I didn't mean to go down that road, but it's really, I just feel very passionately about this. And since it came up so much in the last week, I want to talk about it. Communicating with confidence and clarity. So this all circles back to, we talked about making sure you're an active listener, but like, let's get into, are you asking the right questions? And this isn't just you're new, okay? Because if you're new, you don't even know what the right questions to ask are. And if you're not sure, go back. We talked about it a few weeks ago, but I have other ones that I can give you. I have sample questionnaires, but I want to hear even from experienced advisors or even slightly experienced advisors. How often do you go back, if you have one, and reevaluate what's on your intake form? Oh, wait. You don't have to answer if you don't have one. That's okay. But sometimes we think something's perfect. And I would say most people that do an intake form thought it was perfect. And probably about 3 to 6 months in, they're writing on the sides of the corners, oh, I should add this. Oh, I should have asked this, or I should have this. I know I was guilty of it. Robin, every time I book a client, I love to hear it. Michelle, I do not have an intake form that clients fill out. I have one that I fill out. Well, and that's fair. That's a great point. So I want to be clear here. Thank you for pointing that out, Michelle. I don't just mean what you have, and that's great, Rocky. You should have both. Well, let me clarify this. I'm so glad you guys did that. So there are 2 forms of intake forms. There is the intake form that your clients are filling out on their website, right? All valid. What kind of trip are you looking into? How many travelers? The basics, right? Then there is your qualifying sheet that you keep for yourself. So in the chance they didn't fill out the form online and or additional questions, right? You fill it out for them, a basic inquiry. Yeah, perfect. That's all fine if you have both. But my question for you is, how often, and I just want to hear it, if you do it, like Robin, you say you do it every time, how often are we reevaluating the information we're putting on that? Because that is crucial. One, as the market shifts, you have to be sure you're asking the questions accordingly so it makes sense. Also, do you have, and this might not be written down, but again, the knowledge depending on the destination shift, where it goes, different trends that are happening, knowing what's coming up and what to recommend, things like that. So if you're not doing it, and bless Robin that you do it every time, that's perfect. You don't have to do it every time. What I would say is I would look at it every 3 to 6 months and go, all right, do these questions still track? Do I need to change something? I can tell you from our host agency point of view, we reevaluate our questions every 3 to 6 months. Every 3 to 6 months. Add things, remove things, see if it's too many questions online, because we all know if there's too many questions online, they've lost the plot. They don't want to do it anymore. Qualifying questions. Are you asking the questions like, where have you stayed in love before? Where did you stay and hate it? And that gets you further than just like what they like and don't like. That can find a budget for you. But how many days are you planning on staying? Are you willing to stay longer if the price is better? Are you interested in upgrades if they become available? I'm just shooting off the top of my cuff. I haven't looked at the questionnaire form I've created in a minute. What are some questions that, since those of you that have them, what are some that you have that you think are unique on your intake form? I'd love to hear that in the chat. I'm trying to think of one that I had that was, what's the kind of vacation you enjoy? I used to ask, like, are you like a flop and drop? Like you just want to sit on the beach and just mind your business? Are you an active adventurer? Are you a cruiser? If you're a cruiser, do you want to be doing activities in every port, or you just want to be staying on the ship? Do you want me to look into spa reservations for you? Do you want me to be doing your dining reservations for you? Things like that. I'll pop in my questionnaire that I created. I think it's pretty decent. I just updated it recently for some new advisors. Oopsie, she moves. But I'll pop it in at the end. I'm not sure if it's unique, but I asked what their vision, love this, what their vision is for their trip, and follow up if they're celebrating anything. One, celebrating anything is a great question because there's different hotels where there's perks. They might have honeymoon bonuses. They might wrap the door, or the cruise line might throw, things in the room. That's a great question to ask. But vision is a great question because it falls into what 99% of the time people have dreamed about this vacation. And have you gotten all the things they have been dreaming out when they thought about this vacation? You'll pull that from that question. Andy, and not unique, but do you qualify for, oh, no, that's actually good. Not everyone thinks to ask that. Do you qualify for any discounts such as military, teacher, etc., first responder? They are out there, and if you don't ask, they'll be annoyed that they didn't get it if they saw it. So it's a great question. Everyone else pop in there while we keep going, but make sure you're asking the right questions. And what I would say as things start to come up or you hear other people's, add them to yours. I'm going to make a note to pop mine into the Facebook group questionnaire form. This is just a fun fact. I just cursived my Q in questionnaire, and they don't really do that anymore with children. And one of my kids looked at when I was writing question with a cursive Q. They're like, what are you writing? And that made me feel ancient. All right. Okay. Ongoing communication. Be clear about every single step. Okay. So, and why I say this is because different supplier partners work differently. If you are creating an FIT for an individual and you know you're going through DMC partners and you know they do not have a 24-hour turnaround, you need to be open and honest with your client. Hey, this might take me 5 days to get this. And they're gonna go, 5 days? But I can look up a hotel on the internet in 5 minutes. Yes, Nancy, you can. But I'm going to get your transfers in between your locations. I'm going to get your train tickets. I'm going to be able to include any additional excursions that can be included. I'm going to make sure I get the right hotels in the right locations. I'm going to be able to get you the ones in the right, like closer to the train station so you don't have to overthink about it. I'm going to be able to look at the times you need to come in and out. I'm going to be able to get your interconnecting flights and your inter-country flights when you're in destination. I'm going to be able to set up your car rental and put it all in one big package price. Can you do that by just searching on the internet? Maybe. It's going to take you a long time, and I have the experience in doing it, so it's going to take a bit. And explain why, too. It might be the partner you're working with. It might be their process. Some of them are really quick. You know what I mean? Especially if you're doing like a group tour, super easy if you're going through like Globus or something like that. But some of these take some time. But anytime you're honest and upfront with a client, they don't care. But if they think you're getting back to them that afternoon and you don't, they're going to be annoyed. They are. I'm sorry. They just are. And I am a big believer. So when I started in the industry, now I know I'm a bit of an anomaly. I started in a store for an agency, and I was there at a time where my manager wanted us to close sales on the phone, which feels so out of place in today's culture. And that was, a capability for some trips, right? Not all. And the ones that weren't, we would say, perfect, give me some time to work on this, and I will call you back by the end of the day. I may not have all the results you need by the end of the day, but I will give you an update by the end of the day. Did that give me a laundry list of people I had to call at 5 o'clock? Absolutely. But was anybody annoyed that they didn't have the information they needed? No, because I was honest with them. I was upfront. I did a check-in call, or at least an email. It was like, hey, I didn't get it. Here's what I have so far. I'll have the rest tomorrow or the next day. That kept people in a clear understanding, clear communication, constant communication. Same with like flights. I can't tell you the anxiety it gives me, and to each their own. You all can operate your business your own way. But those of you that will say to your client, all right, it's going to be I'm giving a very generic number. This is going to be $5,000, and it'll come out in different increments because I have to charge this for this piece of this for that. This is all fine. We're not in the bad part yet. And then I find out that they charge the flights that afternoon. They charge the hotel 5-7 days later. They charge the excursions 2 weeks later. The anxiety that gives me, because you are assuming that those individuals didn't plan those dollars are out in a way that they needed to. Just like you shouldn't sell out of your pocket in the manner of, don't be afraid to say a high dollar amount to a client, because the odds are they plan for it, they can pay for it, and or they might have more money than you know. The opposite of that, if they think you're charging $5,000 that day, and they don't pay that much attention to their banking info, and then you don't charge something out till a week later, it's not that the money won't be there, but there's a chance it won't be. But it's not that the money won't be there, but they'll think it's a fraudulent charge. And I know this because how I've heard that people were doing it is because that has come back to them. You're welcome to do what you want, but I would strongly advise otherwise. Another piece about this about communication is letting them, I'm really on tangents tonight, guys. That was not my intention, but I think this is helpful. And if it's not, please tell me. Another important thing about communication and talking about chargebacks, because listen, chargebacks are a real thing and people are very, some of them, especially like the American Expresses and things like that, it's so easy for people to charge back. Make sure you are upfront and honest with your clients about how the charge is going to come through to them. Sure or what? Sure or what? So I don't know what I mean. So what I mean by that is if you're charging air, let them know it's going to come through as United or Delta. If you're charging it through a supplier partner, oh, this is going to come through as Vax or whatever. Know how that charge is going to come through on their charge, because, and I will give an example from the supplier side of the business. There was a short period of time at GoGo Vacations where we weren't telling advisors to tell their clients, oh, chargebacks are, yeah. Oh God, I'm so sorry, Sal. Chargebacks are a nightmare. I've lived them myself. It is a living nightmare. But we weren't telling, I shouldn't say not everybody was, but we weren't really active in being like, make sure you tell your clients the charge is going to come through as GoGo Vacations. And then the clients were under the impressions that they booked through, Rocky, say it's like, Flights and Fables. They assume it's coming through that charge. And then they get a $3,000 charge from GoGo Vacations, and it doesn't connect to them because the total cost was $5,000, instant chargeback constantly. And that's why it's always really important that you have an idea of how they go through. And that's a simple, if you're unsure how to go through, ask the supplier. The supplier will know. They'll absolutely know. We know at Worldvia how everything comes through on our end. They will know. It's very easy. But if they're not aware of what the charge is by some chance, and this isn't going to run into with cruise lines, like Carnival's going to come through as Carnival, Royal's going to come through as Royal, for the most part. But sometimes it's like an abbreviation and it's going to throw somebody off if they're not an avid traveler. So knowing about that. And why chargebacks are a nightmare is because, one, they have their money back. Sure. But the supplier partner is either going to immediately cancel that reservation for them. And if you were on limited space, you could lose that space. The price could go up significantly. Then or if they're not going to cancel it, many supplier partners are going to hold you, the advisor, accountable for the replacement funds. And if the client thinks they were fraudulently charged, they're going to be timid to give it back. It's a nightmare through and through. Also, there's the other end of this, but we're not getting into tonight, which is the fraudulent end of chargebacks. If you were not familiar, I intend on doing an entire session on fraud because I have realized how many people just do not have an idea what fraud is or what it looks like or whatever, and some of the red flags that can come up with it. But fraudulent, it's very easy. It happens with airline tickets. People charge a flight. They can't, or they do a chargeback on the flight. They do, especially the last minute flight. Say they're flying on the last, like in 3 days. Before it's even an issue, they're on the flight and they're doing a chargeback. So they have their money back in their pocket and they've already traveled to the destination they need to go to. There's a lot of weird things with it. I don't want to go down that road because I'm not prepared to speak about that tonight, but chargebacks are a nightmare and I just don't want you to have to run into it. Okay. Sorry. I really did not mean to derail so much, but I think this is all good. If it's not, tell me, guys. Post-trip follow-up, refine your service, request actionable feedback for more improvement. We talked about this in a couple different experiences, but don't be afraid to ask for that feedback. Sometimes it's going to be bad. Sometimes it's going to suck. And that's not because you were bad. That could be because the hotel didn't live up to what we thought it was. Unfortunately, especially if you do a lot of Caribbean and Mexico, many hotel properties are independently managed, and sometimes those management changes, and then it doesn't hold up to what it was before. A prime example of that is the property I got married at 11, now almost 12 years ago, was absolutely stunning when we got married. I wouldn't step foot on that property today. It's that simple. And that happens, and that's okay. But if you don't have that feedback from people going there to know, we don't build accurate books of business and knowledge bases. So ask for the feedback. How was the food? Did you, was it easy for you to get around? How was the entertainment? Was there enough to do? What was there snacks available all the time? Don't get into like the nitty gritty of like, did you feel safe in that? Because then you're going down a road that is not a good one. But ask the questions. What did you like about the room? What didn't you like? What did you wish they had more of? Things like that. I'm curious how many people call their clients after the trip. I send a card in the mail. Oh, I love that. And an email with a link for leaving a testimonial, but do not call. So I would love to hear the individuals on the call. If any of you have thoughts on this, I can tell you what mine is. So what I did is I sent an email. It was a welcome home email about 2 weeks after they arrived back home. And then if they did not respond to that, I gave them a call. If they didn't answer that, I let that lie. That's what I did. Last agency I worked for, we always called, then emailed if we didn't get in touch. Okay, so the reverse of what I did, Sal. So yeah, it's really your preference. I know we're in a world of like when people call, you call people's phone and they're like, "Ooh, who's calling me anymore?" So, different world, totally fine. But I would try both. That's my opinion. Sometimes calling is awkward, I get it, but sometimes in the awkwardness you get something really good out of it. So it's definitely worth it, the try. I call plus send a card. Yeah, I love the sending a card of it. If I full stop. If you do that, that's excellent. There's some really cool if you don't like to write cards, there's some really cool companies out there like handwritten where they'll write the card out for you. They have some really cool there's another one I just saw recently, but I'm a big believer in something in the mail. But it just shows a personal touch. I'm learning calligraphy well, Sal, you're really stepping it up on the rest of us. I can barely write my cursive Q when you're doing calligraphy. I make cards so I customize to their trip. Love that. I love you're all doing cards. This is amazing. Personalize your language to every communication style but well, you guys are personalizing the heck out of this. So I don't have to tell that to y'all. But yes, absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry that they got so loud. I didn't realize it was my air conditioner. Okay. So setting expectations for long-term satisfaction. Again, on the same, like we talked about earlier, establish clear timelines, use technology tools to keep clients informed. Whether that's I'm not promoting outside tools, that's not where I am, but I know there's some tools out there that where if you use them, your client also gets an app that they can use along with it, and they're very cool. I'm not in the place to promote them, but I know they're out there. So that's fun. Also just automated emails are incredibly helpful, but just making sure you're not losing them in the shuffle. During trip. Let's talk. I know, Robin. I know. I'm saying that jokingly. We're trying. We're trying. So I want to talk during trip and a little bit pre-trip. Something the internet cannot do for your clients, but you have the physical capability of doing is doing a walkthrough of their documentation. Not enough advisors do it anymore. They love to send an e-doc and mind their business. But I promise you, those that walk through the documentation aren't going to get the phone calls that they missed a transfer, aren't going to get the phone calls that they don't know where to get their excursion pickup at. They're not going to get the phone calls that they don't know where the train station is. Take the time, walk through the documentation. And a main reason for that is when people are stressed, they cannot read. I'm going to say it again. When people are stressed, they cannot read. So that goes a couple folds of this, right? That's if they were supposed to call to reconfirm a transfer, they're not going to see it and stress isn't always like panic stress, but it's like, okay, am I getting to the right place? I'm going to, it's not processing to them. So if I know I'm doing a lot of Caribbean Mexico references tonight, but I think it's helpful. If you have a client going to Cancun for the first time and you don't tell them to ignore all those people in the airport and walk outside to get their transfers, they are going on a timeshare run of their lives, and you know it, and I know it, so you have to tell them. Michelle, I mail a travel packet and do a Zoom call. Perfect. I really do not do this. And the client was the reason it did happen. And each time I get called, right. Every time you don't go through it, they have an issue. I will stand by that. Anytime they said, I don't need to go through it, they had a issue. So going through the documentation, and then it's not just the directional piece of it, it's also them understanding their room categories better, it's understanding where to go in their airports, their transfers, all that, but also emergency services. If the supplier partner you booked with has emergency services, make sure they know it. If they have travel insurance, make sure they know what the numbers are to call if there is an emergency. I know Allianz has an app. Make sure they're familiar with the app, like whatever it may be. If you don't walk it through with them, it's going to be a nightmare. And again, that's something the internet can do, but you could do. Post trip, set clear follow-up expectations. Remain the go-to contact. This is just keeping yourself relevant. So we kind of talked about some of you sending cards or whatever it is you do as your welcome home. I'm a big believer in this, but making sure you're relevant in their brain. So this is not just that don't just send the welcome home email and then hope for the best. Put them, whatever they talked about that they were interested in before, put them in that email segmentation list and start sending the marketing directed at what they said they wanted to go to the last time you talked to them. That's going to keep them in your loop. It's going to show you paid attention. And it's going to perk their interest. Get them on their email newsletter, whatever it may be. So that way, when they're thinking about travel, they're thinking about you. Okay. Come on, slide. I know you're in there. Okay. Turning feedback into opportunity. Again, proactively seek feedback, solicit feedback through targeted surveys or personal calls. We talk about personal calls, but surveys are also an easy way if you want to do this. If you're an introvert and this is not for you, you don't want to call, you're uncomfortable calling, you're afraid they're going to say something bad to you or be mean to you, to each their own. You can submit a survey. You can also submit a survey like, how was your booking experience with me? That might be a little too early, but you could. But I would say post experience, there's nothing wrong with doing a survey. Survey Monkey is really easy to use. I think Google also has a survey form, if I'm correct. And make it simple. If you look into statistics about surveys, 3 to 5 questions is the way to go. Don't overdo it. They will not answer it. There's also important to know about surveys. There is a particular type of person who's going to answer a survey, and that is not every single one of your clients. So that is why I'll continually say to make sure you call them, but it's just people, it's only certain people are wired to fill out surveys. And so you're not going to get a full response on feedback if you only do that. Address negative feedback. So we talked about it. We said it could be uncomfortable. It's probably going to be, but what we didn't talk about is this. Make sure when they say something went badly or was not what they anticipated, you show empathy. And that, so some of you, you're probably like, yeah, no duh, Laura, like that. No, you'd be shocked how many people I used to have to listen to phone calls of the agency that I worked in. And people would go, wow, the food was awful. And like, we really didn't know what to eat. And they would go, oh, all right. And what'd you think of the beds and things like, just moved on. Hard stop. No. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I would never, if I had known it was like that, I never would have said. Just acknowledging what they said to you is so incredibly important. Putting yourself in their shoes and how you would feel if you spent thousands of dollars on something and you didn't love it. Remember that. And then show the willingness, not even just to improve, but that you're, I promise the next time we go to, we will guarantee, you want to be careful of the word guarantee, but I will make sure that we have this in order. I will make sure we can do this for you. I will try my hardest to do this for you. And use it to enhance future experiences. So that using those kind of wordings, but it's very easy to not want to call somebody because you're afraid of negative feedback, but I am always the first person in any company I've worked in. When somebody's upset, I'm like, I'll get on the phone with them. Because 9 times out of 10, that person just wants someone to listen to them. And by the end of the conversation, they're fine and they're happy. And they're like, you know what? I know it's not your fault. I just really wanted to speak with somebody about it. I completely understand. I would be just as frustrated. Thank you for telling me this. It goes a hell of a long way. Leverage positive feedback, of course. Ask if you can use those kind words as a testimonial for yourself. Ask them for a review for yourself. See if you can just use a little snippet, whatever it may be. Use that for marketing. Don't let that stuff fly. Just saying. And spot trends. You can kind of start to spot trends by looking at your so if you start to get a list of your welcome home email conversations, your welcome home call conversations, you can store that information any way you want, whether it's an Excel doc, a Word doc, whatever it may be, but start to group that in, and so that you can look at the needs of future clients by what you're hearing on this feedback. That was what was always very helpful to me. And I would just have, I was old school and it was a different time, but it really wasn't that long ago. But I would have an Excel sheet where I think I already told you guys this, where I would have different pages and it would be like Costa Rica. And it's like, here's what I've heard about Costa Rica lately. And then I might have different sections in it, just specific hotels. And it was like, oh, here is, San Juan, and here's what I've heard about San Juan, right? So that way, when I had something that would come up, but I would go just quickly read through my feedback and know what to recommend and know what to stay away from. And it was all dated and kept in place. But it helps you make your recommendations in the future a lot better. Okay. Building unbreakable loyalty and trust. Tiered loyalty. Create exclusive offers to repeat clients. Provide early access to bookings. If you have the ability to do this, give it a shot. And when I say that, if you have the ability to do this, you might not have exclusive offers to offer. What you can do, and we talked about referral incentives, it's a separate piece, but you can do a referral incentive. That's always a way you can bring it in. You can do little gifts for different kinds of loyalty. Think outside the box. Go back to when we talked about loyalty programs and what that looks like. Take some pieces for that, but try to incentivize to bring people back. Because again, the internet's not going to do that for them. The internet's not going to give them. Now, I know there is a brand that I will remain nameless in the moment that has something of the nature of a soon come back rate that is difficult to fight, but they do transfer it back to an advisor if needed. So that's not necessarily something you can offer, but it is an offering that comes out. And I know that's comparative to what I'm saying. But see what you can offer. See if it's a gift. See if it's like you get so many of your friends to book with me, I can give this to you kind of thing. Maybe it's a gift to the room, depending on the supplier you're working with. If it's a cruise line, that's a great option. So things to think about. But just remember, most importantly, the biggest piece of this is personal touch. Remember milestone birthdays, anniversaries, dogs' birthdays. I don't care. Remember graduations. Take those notes, keep it in your CRM. Don't forget them, because generally people like to travel around things like that. So even if it's just you sending out a simple happy anniversary, it keeps, and that's another place where I would do a personal card. I'm just saying, because they're like, wow, she remembered this, and they're going to give you a call. Wow, he remembered my birthday. I'm going to give him a call. So remember preferences. That again, this is why they come back to you. Remember the bedding that they prefer. Remember if they prefer to be on first floor or top floor. Remember if they don't like to go out past 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. I'm making that up, but you know what I'm getting at here. Remember if they prefer to be on the first flight out of the day, things like that. And build emotional connections beyond transactions. I'll end. This is like, I know it's still a couple more slides, but important piece to this is the best clients I had and what kept me afloat and what brought me the most return and brought me the most referrals were the clients that I got early and kept through their journey. So I booked their honeymoon, then I booked their baby moon, then I booked their first family trip. I booked a family trip, I booked a multi-generational, I booked a large group reunion, things like that. Being a part of their life moments helps keep you in the circle. Okay. Tools and technologies to enhance client relationships. CRM systems, CRM systems, CRM systems. I don't care which one you use. I don't care if you use your host agencies. Our host agency has one. I know there's reasons why people don't use it. That is your choice. Whatever one you use, make sure you're tracking all your interactions, making sure you're using it accurately and efficiently. And what I mean by that is make sure you're putting in notes. You are tagging them appropriately. You are segmenting your groups for email so that you know who is what and what they are interested in. Make sure you're marking all their preferences. Like I said, if they prefer an aisle seat or a window seat, king beds, 2 queen beds, to sleep on the floor, I don't care. You're writing it in there. If they got in a fight the last time you were on the phone with them because you brought up a word that you don't have to bring up anymore, put it in your notes. And booking history for personalized outreach. Because keeping their booking history in every CRM system will do this. It's the whole point of a CRM, but taking a minute to look at old bookings to jog your memory will be incredibly helpful for conversations. And this comes up almost every time, and I will repeat on blue in the face. Email automation. Make sure your check-in emails are set up. Make sure your Bon voyage emails are set up. Make sure your welcome home emails are set up. Make sure your birthday emails are set up. Make sure your anniversary emails are set up. It's not hard to send those when they're already automated to do so. Most CRMs have places for birthdays and anniversaries, and then you just trigger the email to go when it needs to go. Social media. Highlight client trips. I tell you, every time a client trips, ask for their photos, put it up in there. Something was really cool. Now, this is not social media, but I will call this agency out because I loved it. They had a whole wall of, now this is, of course, if you were in an agency storefront, or it would also be cool if it was just behind you when you did Zoom calls. They had photos of their clients' trips behind them. It was a really cool touch. Every time somebody came home, they printed a trip and put it up. But celebrate milestones to enhance loyalty. Listen, an advisor I know who is incredibly successful, she will put, where are my clients traveling this week? And highlight the trips they're going on and also their birthdays and anniversaries. Doesn't put their names. Just really, it's Miss J's birthday today. Thanks for being a great client. It's Mr. T's anniversary, Mr. and Mrs. T's anniversary this week. I can't wait to plan your next trip. Unlike she puts on our Instagram stories, it's an incredible touch. Okay, so just to recap what we went through, and we're right on time this week, so which is rare. Clear communication, communicate, be confident. It's going to be so, when something feels uncomfortable or something goes wrong or you have a schedule change that you weren't prepared for, you're going to want to hide behind a rock. Don't do it. Be honest, open, upfront, talk about it. I had to tell a 60-some-year-old gentleman that he was going to have to sleep in a Polish airport overnight. And I was terrified. It was in my first year booking, and I called him and I was open and honest, and he was fine with it. There was no other option. It was either that or he'd get a hotel. He didn't want to get a hotel, so he slept in that airport. It was the most uncomfortable thing I've ever experienced. But you have to have those conversations. Be transparent, be open. Also, this is, I'm having a tangent moment, but I think it's relevant. We all know there's weird cabins on cruise ships. Make sure if there's a weirdness to a cabin, you're discussing it with your client. They might be fine with it, but if they get there and you didn't tell them, they're going to be very mad. I stayed in one of those cabins in the front of the cruise, the front of the cruise ship where the wall is slanted. It was an ocean view, and it was slanted. Now, that actually created a really cool experience for me and my daughters when they were young, because the window was slanted, so we would lay backwards under it and we watched the stars at night. It was incredible. But had I not known about it, I would have been like, oh, this cut our room off. It doesn't cut the room off, but it feels that way. So things to think about, making sure they know that. If they have the views of an obstructed view, ocean view is going to tick off a passenger if they don't know about it. So if you are selling guaranteed cabins to save a few dollars for your clients, make sure they're aware that that could happen. If they're aware, they're going to be fine. But if they're not aware, I'll give my own example. I did not know what room category I was getting in on the MSC World America. Beautiful ship. Everything was lovely. Actually, that's a lie. I did know once I got to it. And I had a what do they call it? A promenade balcony, which is totally fine. I was like, oh, this is great. My own fault in this. This is not their fault. I didn't look up how the room was laid out. And because it's a promenade balcony, it's cut short. So me and my mother were just tripping over ourselves all week long. It was fine. We laughed about it, but I was like, oh, had I known, I might have asked if I would have preferred an ocean view at that point. I wouldn't have cared to have the balcony. I do love the balcony, but another piece of that was it was a disco outside my room every night. There's a giant light show going off. Didn't know about that. Probably would have been helpful. So if you don't tell your clients those things, like if they're staying in a promenade balcony, you're like, don't worry, we can't get your regular balcony, but we get your promenade. You can still sit out. But if they don't know that there's a light show going on all night and you didn't tell them, they're going to be annoyed. So set expectations. That's the perfect segue into this. Create satisfaction by setting realistic goals and not over delivering. If you have a supplier partner that's offering a potential upgrade based on availability, I will tell you 9 times out of 10, don't tell your client about it. Because in the chance they get it, you look like a hero. And if they don't, you don't have to apologize. That's a way of not over delivering and deliver a great experience. Again, use feedback, foster loyalty by creating lifelong advocates through personalized engagement. Actions and next steps. Now there wasn't a lot of strategy. This was, I like to add this to everyone, but choosing a relationship building tactic you can implement in this. I didn't get too advanced in this one. I was ahead of myself when I was building this presentation. I apologize. But I think this was a good overview, and I think it's topics that are important. But I love your ideas on the next Elevate, which will be next week. And again, just to build sustainable growth, don't forget that we are a relationship-driven industry. And if you want a thriving industry, do not be an order taker. It will not benefit you in the long haul. Questions, thoughts, comments, sarcastic remarks. I can take the negative ones if you have them. Did we like what we talked about tonight? Was it helpful? Let me know. And just do not forget that your expertise and dedication to client relationships will always be the cornerstone of your success. Thanks for joining me, y'all. Thank you, Andy. And if you want to join us listen, I don't know if these are clickable. I have a feeling they will not be because it's through Zoom, but it made it seem to me like it might be. But either way, register for the next session, join the Facebook group. I'll pop the Facebook group in it. If by chance you can't click on them, great. I doubt it. But and then we put the link in, but I was like, who's gonna be able to click this? But thank you all for oh, good. I'm so happy. I'm glad you thought it was a great section, Rocky. I love when you join us on here. I really appreciate you as well. I know you appreciate this, but I appreciate you for joining. Michelle, you do such a great, oh, thank you so much. I really hope it's helpful. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Kathy. Whoop, I just got, my thing just jumped ahead. Oh, so many comments. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Megan. Sarah, thank you, Laura, and everyone. First time greeting. Oh, I'm glad you liked it. The tangents are always the most valuable. Listen, I do think I get to a good place in the tangent style. I think my intentions when I create these presentations are like, oh, this is a good fact. That's a good fact. But then in the heat of the moment is where I get to what I really wanted to talk about. I need to remember that these are every Thursday. I do not hit them very often. Michelle, well, I love when you're here. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Robin. I'll see you soon. Where am I going to see you at, Robin? What am I seeing you at soon? World! Oh my God. Don't tell me Worlds. I know World is so soon. It's terrifying. Mostly because we're building. Always good. Thank you, Debbie. Jennifer, thank you. For those of you, like I said, so next week I'm here. The week after that, I'm going on a personal vacation. I know it's crazy. I do those things. I'm just going to our local shore, local-ish. We go to Delaware. And we're gonna go hang out with the girls and have a week to ourselves. We haven't had that in a minute, which I'm very, very excited about. And then the week after that, I am not too ashamed to admit that I am living out my millennial dreams, and I am going to see the Backstreet Boys at the Sphere in Las Vegas, and I held zero shame that I'm doing it, especially because I had the opportunity to see Kenny Chesney at the Sphere last week at Edge, and it was truly one of the most incredible things I've ever witnessed. And I wasn't even necessarily a huge fan of his, and I can't wait to go see the Backstreet Boys. So I have 2 weeks in a row where I'm going to be out living my best life, and but I'll hear next week and then out in 2 weeks, and then I'm back with y'all for quite a few weeks. And listen, maybe there is a week in August where I'm on a cruise ship, but maybe I can do this from the cruise ship. Maybe if we're in destination, I don't know. Michelle, register for them in advance and put them in your calendar. That is a good idea, Michelle. You can register for all these in advance. And you can do it for, oh, look at you do it for the next 2 months, Sal. Gold star to you. I did just have an anniversary, Robin. My husband and I are together 15 years. Not married 15 years, but are together 15 years. We've been friends for longer than that, but it was pretty awesome. We spent it in Salt Lake together. Andy, listen, I'm so thrilled to go see the Backstreet Boys. I saw them twice when I was my teens. Jennifer, so the Backstreet Boys were my first concert. And then I did not think about them again for years and years and years. And then during COVID, they played, I live by Woodstock, Bethel Woods. And my girlfriend called me one day. She goes, do you want to go see the Backstreet Boys today? I was like, that sounds like the best thing I've ever heard of. And I remembered every song like it was 2000 or 1999, or I should say 1999. And I had such a fun night. And her and I were like, we're trying to relive that moment ever since. So when they said they were going to the Sphere, we're like, we're in. So we're going. They are the same boys. Yes. And they put on a heck of a show. All right, y'all. For those of you that stuck around through the nonsense, thank you so much for joining me. If you still need the link I'm going to pop in the Facebook link if you need it. If not, I'll catch y'all next week. I don't know what the topic is yet, but it will pop in the chat tomorrow. I have to look at the schedule. But thank you all for coming. I wouldn't have to be here if it wasn't for all of you. So I appreciate you so much. And I'll see y'all next week. Bye, everybody.